We all start somewhere. Maybe you forgot where you started. Maybe you forgot where you started or how you started. But you are a sum of your experiences up to this point. These experiences are yours and only yours. No one has lived your life. And that makes where you are right now uniquely yours. But what if we could go back in time? What if we could sit across the table, grab a cup of coffee, and spend a few hours with the person we used to be, with our former self? What would we talk about? What wisdom would we try to impart? And more importantly, if our younger self looked us in the eye and said, "Can you give me some advice?" what would we say? Well, recently I did a video where I took my son up into the Sierras. We went to Sequoia National Park in Kings Canyon. You can watch that video. I've linked it right above. And that was kind of like a short film in response to just where things are going in our society. But that entire drive to and from the parks, it's like 3 hours from my driveway to the park gate. We just talked. And you sometimes forget as a parent that while yeah, your kids are small, like my son is 10, but he still has like 1,000 questions and can process and reason through things, honestly, like at an adult level. And we were just talking about all things about life. And it just got me reflecting on the things that I wish I knew when I was younger. And I'm gonna apply that today to photography, like what things I wish someone would have told me when I was starting out as a photographer, or even things people would have told me along the way. I think it would have saved me a lot of frustration and heartache and hard lessons that I had to pick up and learn by doing. One of the best teachers along our path is failure, and I don't want to take that away from you. But I would like to share 10 very practical things that I would sit down today and tell my younger self, the me that was trying to land clients, the me that was trying to have fun, the me that was getting burned out, the me that was trying to figure out how to find my style, and all these things about where I was as a creative to where I am today. And I'm sure if I make this video again in 10 years, I'll have 10 brand new things to say. So whether you're just starting out or maybe you're somewhere far into your journey, I want you to find these tips helpful. And before we get into them, if this is your first time here, my name is Dave. I'm a photographer and videographer from the Bay Area of California. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I post 2 videos a week unless something goes horribly wrong. The very first thing I'm gonna put this coffee cup down. The very first thing that I would say is to be okay with boring photos. When I was just like trying to find my way into photography, I thought everything had to be like epic. Everything had to be like an awesome shot, something that I would print or put on the wall. Or when social media came along, it would be something that got the views and got the likes and got the comments and then later got the shares and the saves and all the things that, honest to God, don't even matter. We get ingrained thinking that we have to go out and make every shot like some banger, but the reality is a lot of life are just boring moments, and if you're a photographer, like it's okay to capture those boring everyday moments. What might be boring to you today might be exciting later also, so don't be afraid to pick your camera up and take photos of everyday life, the life that you're living, the life that is moving all around you. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's your town. Just go out and be okay with boring photos, because not everything has to be a banger. The second thing I would tell myself is that noise is part of photography. I used to try to take my photos at the lowest ISO possible, handheld at the slowest shutter speed I could. So oftentimes I'd hold the camera up and do like a inhale, exhale, like a sniper. And then when I get that breath just right, fire off the shutter at like 1/15th. Think of it like this. It's better to have the photo as sharp as you can get it with high noise and a great shutter speed than it is to have some wobbly, blurry photo that you can't even tell what it is. Are you gonna choose the blur or the noise? Choose the noise, because noise is okay. The third thing I would tell myself would be that I don't need to have an entire range of focal lengths to become a great photographer and capture everything I want to capture. I remember when my goal was to have a 16-35, a 24-70, and a 70-200, so I was covered from 16 to 200. For me, being able to twist the lens and recompose while standing in the same spot, I think hindered the rate in which I grew. When I started using only prime lenses many years ago, especially using a lens like a 50 that forced me to walk, I had to get further away from subjects or get closer to things to get the composition I wanted. Shooting those prime lenses really made me grow. If you shoot Leica M, which I shoot as my dominant camera, then you're familiar with prime lenses. But if you're shooting other systems like Canon or Sony or Nikon or Fuji, don't be tempted to just chase all those zoom lenses to cover this range of focal length. Instead, get a prime lens, like a 50 or a 35, and just spend a year with it and make it work. That kind of creative hustle will make you better. The fourth thing I would tell myself is to clean my gear. I know this is a really easy one, but shooting digital cameras, especially with a digital sensor that can easily get dirty, just proactively clean it. Don't wait until your sensor is covered in spots when you get back from a shoot and you're looking at the raw files and you're like, oh my gosh, what has happened here? Just put it on your calendar to get your sensor clean at a rate that makes sense for you. For me, I try to get my sensors clean every 3 months because I shoot outdoors a lot, and when I have to change lenses, and I mean the West, it can be dusty. I shoot a lot in dusty places. I just easily get dust on my sensor. No matter what I do, I can hold it down, I can make sure the shutter's closed. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna get dust on that sensor. So for me, every 3 months, I get it clean. I wish I would have started doing that a long time ago because I have a lot of photos with a lot of sensor spots. Don't love that. Okay, number 5, run away from auto white balance. I fully understand the benefits of auto white balance, but I think that if you're trying to hone in a style that's unique to you, find a white balance that works with the edit that you have in mind. For me, I shoot everything at 50-200 when it's outdoors, and I adjust accordingly indoors, but I really don't shoot indoors a ton. And I have it dialed in like that because when I go to make my edits, that white balance is already where I'm gonna put it. I don't wanna have to sit there and copy and paste or try to manipulate every photo's white balance. Just set your white balance to one thing, get off auto white balance, and just go shoot, and then enjoy a much easier editing process. Number 6, it's really tempting when you're out shooting to recompose while looking through your viewfinder. For instance, if you're shooting with something with an EVF and you've got it up here, you can obviously do this, but let's say you're oh, I'm just a little further away than I want to be. I'll take a few steps and make sure I get it right in the frame, and you start walking while looking through your camera. Don't do that. That is a bad idea. Always look where you are going. Every year, photographers die because they fall off cliffs, and it sucks, especially when you hear about this happening in national parks in Utah. And if you don't believe me, just Google photographer falls to death and you'll see what I'm talking about. But a lot of times this happens because they're not looking where they are walking, and they are looking through their camera, or they're somewhere they shouldn't be. I have been guilty of doing both of those things when I was younger. I don't do them anymore, and if I could go back and tell myself something, I would definitely say don't be where you're not supposed to be, and if you're gonna move your feet, don't look through your camera. This one could save your life, so take it serious. Number 7, don't make the photo the end goal. Photography is a great motivator to go out and do something, and I've definitely leaned into that every year. I plan some of my travels around places I want to take photos of, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the photo isn't the end goal. The experience of being there and being present and making those photos is a goal in and of itself. And let me illustrate the opposite of that. When I started this channel in 2023, the video that kicked off my commitment to doing YouTube, I was in Alabama Hills shooting a sunrise, and I got there before the sun came up. sitting outside. I had my Leica Q2 and I also had a Sony a7R5, and I was like doing a comparison between the two. I'm gonna link this video up here. It's not very good, but I'm gonna link it anyway. And I mentioned this in this video, and it still bugs me when I think about it, but I've seen it so many times now, and every time I see it, it just really disappoints me. And what I'm talking about is I will see photographers drive up to a place during like the absolute best lighting. They'll hop out of their car, they'll grab the shot they're trying to get, they'll get back in their car, and they will dip out. In Alabama Hills, there's this like view that's really popular to put like your influencer girl in on the dirt road, and you have the mountains in the background. Well, I was shooting near that spot. I could see that spot, but I was like more straight on with the mountains over here. And I watched literally like 8 cars pull up. They lined up on the road. One at a time, they got out, got their photo, the girl, you know, with the hat and doing her thing, and then getting back in the car, and then they drove off. And then the next one went up, and it was like a line. It was honestly like the cringiest shit I've ever seen in my life. And I feel like that happens whenever you are making the photo the end goal because you're trying to like appease people, Instagram, whatever. No, go experience something. Like that's the end goal, is the experience. So young Dave, you've been guilty of this. You've been guilty of it, but you gotta move on. You gotta make the experience the most important thing. Okay, number 8. This one might be hotly debated, but just like talk to people. Talk to people. Make friends. Don't be someone who's afraid to say hi and interact with the other people out there. And some people use photography as like a sanctuary. Trust me, I do it as well. But you can find the appropriate moment to like say hi to somebody and meet people along the way. If you don't carry a business card, you should really carry one. This is mine. If you ever see me out in the wild, you will maybe get handed this card on the other side. I just have a simple QR code. Carrying a card gives you a way to connect with somebody when you're out there. Don't rely just like, hey, my social media handle is, because then you're just gonna get lost, all right? And I don't wanna lose people that I meet, and I don't wanna get lost either. So carry a card, you know, be old school about it. I do think cards have made a comeback though, so maybe it's not as old school. Number 9, this is just like a strategic thing to do if you shoot a camera that does not have GPS. A lot of cameras don't have built-in GPS to tell you where you took the photo from. And if you're out shooting and you find a great spot, and maybe you're not even thinking about the fact that you might one day want to revisit this spot, but if I find a great place that I like and I don't know the name of it, if it's not like some popular location that like is common knowledge, I oftentimes will just grab my phone and snap a photo of that same composition as well for the purpose of geotagging it. And so in the future, if I ever want to go back to that spot, I can say, hey, I was there October of 2022. Let me go to it. Oh, this is a location. Okay, we're at our final tip, number 10. Young Dave and you, the viewer who's out there watching, don't overthink this and just have fun. Like, it's really that easy. Don't get so caught up in all the technical side of photography that you forsake the artistic side, and don't become such an artist that you never learn the skills that are required to make great photos. When you start overthinking photography, you get obsessive about one thing or another, and then you chase that one thing down, and it kind of becomes like at the expense of the other things that make photography wonderful. And so don't overthink it. Always be out there having fun. And look, work isn't always fun. Sometimes you're making photos of things you really don't care about or don't want to photograph, and that is okay. That's part of it if you do photography for work, but you have to balance that with things that give you life, with things that are fun for you. And so always find a way to keep it fun and don't let yourself get burned out. These are the things that I would tell a younger Dave, and I hope they resonated with you as well. If you have any tips for the community, be sure to drop a comment below and let everyone know the advice that you would have, because I find so much value whenever we dive into each other's processes and thoughts. It's all really good stuff, so if you've got them, leave them below in a comment. And of course, if you found this video helpful, be sure to like it. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to this channel. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.